Welcome to the lecture 6 of this Python programming course. Today we are going to see the remaining data types that were left in our previous session. So we are going to see dictionary today, and we will also see some other concepts which are range and none data types. So let's get started with this lecture. So today we are going to see dictionary today, which is called Dict, and we will see range concept. Range is a data type, and it's also a function which is used to print a sequence of numbers. We will see that in a bit. Dictionary is a data type which is similar to the collection data types of list, but the only difference is that in dictionary we use key value pairs, but in list we only use single objects as a collection. And the other one, then other concept that we'll discuss today is non data type. So first, starting with the dict. So dict is a collection data type, just like list. Dict is also a collection data type. So in list we used to store single objects as a collection. Okay, if we want to store a collection of objects, a group of objects in a single entity, then we used to use list and tuple and set. But the difference between list and this dictionary is that in list we used to store the single objects, but in dictionary we will store key value pairs. Okay, we'll store a pair of values as one entity, one object. So for example, in list, if I take this one, L is equal to, I'm taking these values here. So these are group of objects, but we are storing these single objects here. 10 is a single object, 20 is a single object, 30 is a single object, and 40 is a single object. So we are storing single objects as a collection inside variable L, and we call that as list because we are using square bracket notation. If we use open bracket notation, then it's called tuple. So but in dict we store key value pairs. That's the first point, key value pairs. So if I want to store, for example, in a classroom, if I want to store students information, then I want to store their roll number and I want to store their names together. So that, if I input the roll number, then I should get the value back. So in that way, if I want to store the data, then I should use dictionary, because key is nothing but the roll number and the value is nothing but the name of the student. So that using the rule number I can get the name. So we store the data in the form of key value pairs in dictionary, where keys are the ones we use to get the values. So if I want to create a dictionary here, I should use the notation flavor bracket notation. So what's the notation for dictionary? It's the flavor bracket. So the flavor bracket notation is same for the set and also the dictionary. The only difference is that in set we'll store only one object, group of single objects, but in dictionary we store key value pairs. Okay, that's how Python will differentiate between set and dictionary, because the notation is same. Then Python should find a way to differentiate, right? So it will differentiate based on the data provided. In set we'll provide collection of single object, but in dictionary we'll provide key value pairs. So we'll create a dictionary here. So I want to store some names based and rule numbers. I should put a comma after one entity. This 100 is the key here, and Vikas is the value. So 100 is the rule number and Vikas is the name. I want to store rule number as the key and name as the value, so that I can get the name using the rule number. And I should put a comma here. Then for the other rule number, let's store any name. Let's store Jack as a name. Then I'm going to store another entry here. I will use another name. I'll put another name. Then after completing the data, after completion of filling the data, I can just close it with this flavor bracket. Then the dictionary will be created. So when you print the type, when you print the type, then you will get class dict. So when we print the type, we'll get the class dict, because the type of D is dictionary. So how it will differentiate between set and dictionary? In set we only use single objects, but in dictionary we are using key value pairs. So if I print D, I'll get the dictionary. I can also use items function here. So we have something called items function. So if I use d dot items, then I'll get all the items present in the dictionary. So I'll get all the items, all these items will be printed here. So this is the basic idea of dictionary. Okay, the basic idea is in list we only store single objects as a collection, but in dictionary we'll store key value pairs as a collection. Now we'll see some characteristics now. So if you want to represent a group of values as key value pairs, then we'll use dict. We already discussed this point. And are duplicates allowed? Can I say are duplicates allowed in dictionary? In list we discussed that duplicates are allowed. I can take any duplicates I want, any number of duplicates I want, and even in the tuple we can include duplicates. But are duplicates allowed inside dictionary? Duplicates are definitely allowed in dictionary, but there is a small condition here. When you are inserting a key value pairs, why we are using keys here? To uniquely identify something, right? If we have 60 students in a classroom, if I want to identify each student uniquely, then that's when we are going to put rule numbers for each and every one, so that we can uniquely identify each and every student. So that if I want a student's name, then I'll call with the rule number, so that person will stand up and answer me. So keys are used to identify someone. So keys should be unique. Okay, keys can't be duplicated. So the same logic applies here. Inside dictionary, here I wrote it down. I wrote here, keys can't be duplicated, but values can be duplicated. Okay, values can be duplicated. So in our previous example where we took rule numbers and names, these keys can't be duplicated. Keys should be unique here, but the values can be duplicated. In a classroom we could have, we can have two students with the same name, then the names are nothing but the values. We can put two names, but the rule numbers can't be same. So keys can't be duplicated, but values can be duplicated. This is the point we need to remember inside dictionary. So keys can't be duplicated, but values can be duplicated. The next question is order important inside dictionary? Order is not important, because in dictionary we don't have the indexing concept, because the values are not stored based on the index. The values are stored based on the keys. So if you want a value, you will use the key. But in the list we used to use index to fetch a value, but in dictionary we are going to use keys to fetch the values here. So is order is important? No, order is not important. And the important point in dictionary is that dictionary is mutable. What is meant by mutability? You already know. Like at this point you should know this, the difference between mutability and immutability. Immutability means not changeable, but mutability means changeable, which means we can change the content inside the data type or inside the collection data type. So if we have list, then list was mutable. We discussed that list was mutable, so we can change the content inside the list. In the similar manner, if I want to change the values inside the dictionary, then I can obviously change it. So that's the reason we call dict as mutable. So now let's see how this mutability works. Like we need to prove that it is mutable. I can't just say that it is mutable and run away here. So let's create a dictionary here. Let's create a dictionary based on countries and capitals. So in the keys I'm going to put the countries, and in the values I'm going to insert the capitals of each country. So for India as a key. New Delhi will be the value here. And for USA, it's Washington, I guess. For England, it's London. Let's take another country. Let's take Bangladesh then. The capital of Bangladesh is Dhaka, I guess. Yes. So after completion of filling the data, then we should just close this flower bracket. Now, first of all, I'll also discuss some functions here. I'm just going to discuss some important points in this lecture because I'm going to make separate lectures on list, tuple, and dictionary, all these collection data types. So I'll just discuss some basic important points here. So we will see some functions. So we already saw items function. So whenever I put this, okay, well, let's change this variable name first. Let's make this as capitals because we already took d. Why should we take d again and again? So to use items function, I should name the capitals the way I should put the variable name here, then I should put a dot, then I should call this function. Calling the function is nothing but executing the every statement inside this function. Items function is already defined by the Python creators. So when we call this function, all these items present here, all these items that we have here, all these items will be printed on the output screen. So to print all the entries, and the second function is keys function, and we also have values function. Keys function will print all the keys present inside the dictionary. So to print all the keys, so in this capitals one, we will get all these keys. So we'll get all these keys in the form of list to print all the keys in the dictionary. Values is to print all the values in the dictionary. So values is to print all the values in the dictionary. So now these are the three functions that I want to discuss in this lecture. So now if I want to, I said that dictionary is mutable, then which means that we can change the content. So if I want to change any value here, if I want to change the capital of England to, for example, in the future, if the capital of England is named like a different city could be named as capital, then we need to come back and update this one. So how can I do that if I want to update it? I should first put the variable name here, and then I should put the square brackets. Inside the square brackets, I should put the key here, and then I should give the new name here. So I can give Yorkshire. Then this London, this value will be replaced with Yorkshire, which means that dict is mutable because we are changing the value here. So I already told you that list, in dictionary, keys can't be duplicated, but values can be duplicated. So here in this statement, can we say that I'm actually trying to insert a new entry? Okay, let's try to insert another one and then come back to this point. So for example, if I want to insert a new entry, we already have 4 entries here. So this is one entry, this is one entry, this is third one, this is fourth one. Now I want to insert a 5th entry. I want to insert, maybe let's insert Germany. So if I want to insert Germany and its capital into this dictionary, capital is Berlin. So if I want to insert this entry here inside this dictionary, then I can simply write like this. First of all, I should put the variable name, then I should put the key here, then I should give the value to this one. Then this Germany and Berlin will be added to the dictionary. So even in the above one, when I'm trying to update the value, I'm using the same syntax. Okay, for these two, even for the inserting of the new entry, we'll use the same syntax, and for updating, for the updating purpose, we'll use the same syntax. So if you observe here, if I want to insert another entry with a duplicate name England, if I want to, if I want to take England again, if I want to insert a new entry with the same key, we already discussed that keys can't be duplicated. So if I start inserting another values with the same key England, then keys are actually getting duplicated here. So when you insert a duplicate key, then the new value will replace the old value. If you here, if we take USA, if we take USA here, if I want to add a new entry with the same key value, then whatever value we give here, it will this value will be updated with the new value. So when we are trying to insert a duplicate key, then the value will replace the old value for that particular key, because we are adding the same key again. Then as the key is already exists, as the key already exists in the dictionary, the new value that we are giving here will replace the old value inside the dictionary. So that's how this one works. And if I want to print a value here, then what should I do? I should use the print function, and inside the print function I should write the same syntax here, capitals, I should put the square bracket, and if I put the key England here, then Yorkshire will be printed, because we already updated it here. So the output will be Yorkshire because we already updated it. So this is how we print the values using the keys. You need to mention the keys inside the square brackets. For list, we used to use index to print a particular element, but in dictionary we will use keys to print the values, because that's how we are storing inside dictionary. We are storing as a key value pairs, so that using the keys we can get the values from the dictionary. So these are the characteristics for the dictionary. It's mutable, order is not important, duplicates are allowed, but only values can be duplicated, keys can't be duplicated. We took the example, we took the classroom example where two students names can be same. Okay, there can be three students whose name is same. So when we are putting the student's name in the values can be duplicated, because in a classroom student numbers can be same, but rule numbers can't be same. In the similar manner, if you're going for a bank, then bank, the account numbers can't be same. Account numbers should be unique, but the person's name, okay, the account holder's name can be same. We have more than 100 crores of population. Obviously there will be so many people with the same names, but no two people should have the same bank account number. So keys can't be duplicated, but values can be duplicated. Order is not important, and mutable means changeable. And we saw some functions here. We saw items, we saw keys function, we saw values functions, we saw how to insert a new entry, we saw how to update the existing entry, we also saw how to print a value using the key. So I'm just going to discuss some important points in this lecture. We'll again see, when we come back to the dictionary, we'll see more methods associated with the dictionary. We'll also do some problems there. So now let's get into the next one. So the next concept we are going to discuss today is range. Range, some people call range as function, and some people call it as data type. It is both. It is both a function and a data type. I'll also tell you why this is called a data type, because I'll prove you when we start executing a program. So range data type is used to represent a sequence of numbers. If I want to represent, or if I want to print from 1 to 100, then I'll use range function. If I want to print from maybe 0 to 9, then I'll use range function. If I want to print from 4 to 20 or 20 to 30, if I want to print a sequence of numbers, then we'll use range function. So how do we use range function? Now we'll see how to use the range function. So we um, so the first form or the syntax that we use is, we'll first put this range function. Actually r is lowercase letter, we can't use this uppercase. So in the range we'll put a number here. So inside this open parenthesis we'll put a number. Let's put 10. Then 0 to 10 numbers will be printed, but the numbering will start from 0 to 10 minus 1. So here 0 to 9 will be printed. So if I print range of 100, if I write range of 100, then 0 to 99 will be printed. The numbering will start from 0 and it will end. When it will end one number before the number that we put inside the parenthesis. If we put 100, then it will end one number before. I mean, we need to subtract 1 from this number that we put inside the parenthesis. If I put range of 1000, then 0 to 999 will be printed. So this is one form to use range function. The next form is we can actually specify the starting number too. Here we haven't specified the starting number, which is the reason the numbering is starting from 0. But if I want to print from 3 to 10, if I want to print from 10 to 20, if I want to print from 100 to 200, then I can actually specify the starting number here. So I can specify the starting number and I can also specify the ending number. So I can write like this, range of 3 to 10. Then what happens? 3 to 9 will be printed. We all know that when we are printing like this, it will always be printed from starting index to n minus 1 index. Even in the list, even in the strings concept, we discuss this. So whenever we use start to end idea, it will print from start and it will print until n minus 1. Even in the slicing concept we discussed, okay, inside list and strings. So the similar concept, a similar idea applies here. It will start from the starting index and it will print until n minus 1 index. So if I want to print, let's take 12 to 100, then it will start from 12 and it will end at 99. So 12 to 99 will be printed. So this is a second form, or we can say second kind of syntax, how we use range function. We'll see how the other one works too, other syntax works too. So the other syntax goes like this. First we will specify the starting index and then we'll specify the end index and then we will specify the step variable. So why this step variable is used? Step variable is used as an incremental value. In the second form, when we didn't use the step value, we are printing from start to n minus 1 index and this step value is actually 1. Okay, the default value of the step is 1. So if I'm printing from 3 to 10, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Can you see the difference? The difference is 1 here because the step value, the default step value is 1. So if I put step is equal to 2, then what happens here? So let's take an example and see it. So if I want to print from 3 to 10 and I mentioned one second, I didn't mention the step here, 3, 10, and then I should mention the step variable value. If I mention 2, then these values will be incremented. I mean 3 will be printed, then we'll increment it to by 2, then we'll get 5 because 3 plus 2 is 5. Then we'll increment by 2 again, then 5 plus 2 is 7. We'll increment by 2 again, 7 plus 2 is 9. So these 4 values will be printed. If I take 5 as the step variable, what happens? If I want to print from 0 to, or let's say I want to print from 10 to 100 and the step value is 5. Then first 10 will be printed, then we need to add 5 here because it will be incremented by 5, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So next we'll get 15, then we'll get 20, 25, so on, we'll get until 95. We'll only get until 95 because 100 is not possible. 95 plus 5 is 100. We can't print 100 because it will only be printed until n minus 1 it will be only printed until 99, and 99 is not applicable because 95, if we increment to 5, then it will reach 100, then we can't print 99 here. So these are the three forms that we use range for. And the other characteristics I want to mention here is that I want to mention here that range is immutable, which means we can't change the numbers inside the range function, and slicing and indexing is applicable. Indexing and slicing are applicable. So we'll see why it's applicable in the program. In a few minutes I'll execute a program for all these data types, then we'll see how these two things works. So I hope you understood the concept of range here. Now let's get into the next concept, next topic. So the next topic is none data type. So none is a data type. Whenever you're creating a website or an application, you will definitely come across a scenario, at least even once, maybe at least once, where you need to create a variable which points to nothing. Okay, if you want to create something which is pointing to nothing, okay, the variable is there but it is pointing to nothing here. So if you want to create that kind of variable, you need to use this none data type. So none means nothing or no value associated. If the value is not available, then we'll use, I mean, if you whenever you're writing a program, if the value is not available, then we'll use this none data type. How we'll use this? We'll just create a variable and point it to this none, which means that it is pointing to nothing. This none is used for various purposes. One of them is for garbage collection. We already discussed how garbage collection works in our previous lectures. So if I have a variable like this, let's delete this one or let's use another. So if I have c is equal to 10, then if I want this object to be garbage collected, I mean if I want this object to be deleted from the memory, then I can simply, this one is actually pointing to this 10 object. This variable is pointing to this 10 object. Now if I point this variable to none, what happens now? This will be deleted, this pointer will be deleted, and then this object doesn't have any reference count, sorry, any reference variable, no reference variable. When an object has no reference variable, then it will be assigned for garbage collection. Now this 10, the garbage collector comes into the picture, and this 10 will be deleted, and this c is actually pointing to nothing. So nothing, when in this none data type, when I say that the c is pointing to nothing, it doesn't mean that the c is actually, or the variable is actually exist in the memory, just like that. So the second point I want to discuss here is, so none is actually an object. None is an object too, because this one relies on the basic principle of Python. What's the basic principle of Python? Everything is an object in Python. So none is also an object. None is also an object. Yes, I told you that the variable will point to nothing, but whenever the c is pointing to none, it means that it is pointing to nothing. It is pointing to none, but when I execute this statement, then the c will point to this none object inside the memory, and we only have one none object. Okay, even though I do like this, okay, even though I do c is equal to none, d is equal to none, e is equal to none, then there will be only one object inside the memory. There will be only one none object, and whatever you point will be pointed to this none, which means that all these variables are pointing to nothing. They don't have any value. Even though you print it, it doesn't matter. So c, d, e, all these variables are pointing to this none data type here. So none is also an object, and none is used for garbage collection, and we also use none for in functions. Usually when we declare a function like this, def of f1, def is a keyword to create a function, and f1 is the function name, and these two are the parentheses, or we can call them as open brackets here. So in def f1, if I want to return 10, and when I call this function and assign it to the f, this is nothing but calling the function. We call a function like this using the function name. We'll discuss functions in the future. So when we call this function, this function will return this 10 because we are actually returning this 10 value here. Just understand that this function will return 10 value, which means this one function will give 10 to this variable f because we are assigning this function to this variable f. So now this variable f will point to this 10. So let's create the same another function, def of f2 here, and inside this def I don't want to return anything. Here I return 10, but in this particular function I don't want to return anything. Maybe I'm just assigning a variable, maybe assigning some values, maybe I'm doing something else, or let's take it as pass here. Whenever I use pass, it means that the function is doing nothing. So when I call this function and assign to this variable, now this g will point to this none data type because this function is returning nothing. If the function is returning nothing, then the g will automatically go and point to the none data type that exists in the memory. We only have one none data type inside memory. None is also an object. It doesn't mean that g is just pointing to nothing inside memory. Okay, when the variables are pointing to the none data type, it means that the variables are pointing to nothing, and we only have one data type, sorry, one none object inside the memory, I mean inside the Python. So we only have one none, and all the variables will be pointing to this none. So I think we discuss these are the points that are in the none data type. So we saw how range works, how none works, and we also saw how dictionary works. So now we'll execute a small program based on all these three concepts. So now we'll execute a program and see how the characteristics works for all the topics that we discussed. So we'll first start with the dict. Why? So for dict, we know that dict is used to store key value pairs. So the characteristics are it is mutable, and the keys can't be duplicated, and the values can be duplicated. Now let's try to create a dict first. So we'll take the same example that we used. Capitals is equal to, I'll first New Delhi, then we should put them in the double quotes. Then then I'll enter the third entry. Enter the third entry. We did Germany. Now can you tell me, in this dictionary that I created here, which are keys and which are values here? Can you tell me? So in this capitals dictionary, are these India, England and Germany, are these keys? Are New Delhi, London and Berlin are keys? What are the keys here? So here if we see, this India is a key because we are actually storing the capital for this country. England is also the key, Germany is also the key, and the capitals for each country are the values. Now I'm going to print the capitals. Then we can see that this data is stored in this format in the key value pairs. India is the key and New Delhi is the capital. Now let's try to print the keys of this dictionary. What we need to do, we first need to put the variable name, put the dot symbol, and then we should use the keys. Okay, if you can see here, we also have, if you observe here, we also have some other functions that we'll discuss later. We have pop function, pop item, we have so many other functions which we'll discuss in the future lectures. um, so now you will get all the keys here. Now if you try to print Now if you try to print the values, then you will get all the values associated to the keys. You'll only get the values here. So now you will get the values. So the keys are the countries and the values are the capitals here. So now if we go and try to print the items that we discuss the items functions, then if we try to use the items function, then we'll get all the key value pairs in a list format. If you can see here, this is in a list format. Okay, this one is the list. So inside this list we have all these key value pairs. This is a key value pair, and the next one is a key value pair, and this one is a key value pair, and we got this in the list. Okay. File. So we saw how keys function works, we saw how values works, we saw how items work. Now let's see how to insert a new entry here. So if I want to insert a new entry, I should first write the variable name, and I should use the square bracket notation. Then I should put the key here. If I want to add a new country and the capital pair, I want to add Bangladesh, and then this Bangladesh is the key. So I should put the key inside the square brackets, then I should put the equal to symbol, and then I should give the value here. Then this entry will be added to the dictionary. Now execute it and then print the capitals here. Now if you can see, we got the new entry here. We got the Bangladesh and Dhaka, this pair, as a new entry here. So this is how we insert a new entry inside dictionary. We just use the square bracket notation and put the key inside the square bracket. Now let's see how to update it, because we say that dictionary is mutable, which means we can change the values. So let's see how to update it. We should use the same syntax that we use to provide a new entry. So for example, if I want to update the capital of England to Yorkshire, then I should put the key here, then I should put equal to symbol, then I should write the new value here for the England Yorkshire. Now if I click enter, then if I click if I print the capitals using the print function, then if you can see, the value is updated here. So Yorkshire is updated, London is updated to Yorkshire. So we printed the capitals and we got the dictionary here. So we saw how dictionary is mutable and how can we insert new values here. And we also saw that keys can't be duplicated and values can be duplicated. Let's also create another dictionary where I'll show you how values can be duplicated. So fruits, let's take apple, and I want to store its color here, red. Then banana, yellow. What else? I forgot all the fruits names as well. Okay. Watermelon, I think watermelon is green, I guess, or green. Okay, syntax error, what happened? Watermelon green does not match. Okay, I used the list format here. If you can see, I can use the square brackets format, so I need to fix it. I should use the flavor bracket notation here. So if I enter and if I print fruits, then I'll get the dictionary that I created. So now let's also add a new entry here. I should have created another entry with the same with duplicates values, but let's try to add a duplicate value here. So I want to, why am I even using print function? I should use fruits square bracket notation, and inside the square bracket I should first put the key here. So I'm going to add strawberry, then I'm going to put equal to symbol and then add the value here. So I'm going to add the same red here, then print fruits. Then if you can see, the values are duplicated here. Red is a value and we have the same value as red here. So the point that we discussed where that the keys can't be duplicated and values can be duplicated is true, and it will work. Now let's see if we can actually add some duplicates here, add some key duplicates. So fruits, I want to change apple color to blue. Maybe there are some blue apples or green apples too. Let's change it to green. Apple green. Now I'm trying to add a new entry inside this because I want to add another kind of apple, which is green apple, where I want to make it green color. But when we print these fruits, if you can see, the old value got replaced, which means that keys can't be duplicated. When you try to add a new entry where the key value will get duplicated, then the old value will be replaced with the new value. Here I tried to provide the new value, so the red got replaced, but actually I wanted to add a new entry here. I didn't want to update the value here. I wanted to update the value for, when I updated value for England, I wanted to update it, but here I wanted to create a new entry. I wanted to create a new entry just like I created strawberry. I wanted to create a new entry for the apple, which I want to represent a green apple. But it didn't work because here apples, the keys can't be duplicated, which is the reason the old value got replaced with a new value. So this is how we work on dictionary. After completing, if you understand everything, you know you start working on some programs. Go to ChatGPT or any other, ask the AI to provide you some questions or exercises so that you can practice. I can explain you 5 programs, 10 programs, it's not going to work because you are the one who should practice, which is the reason in my lectures I want to focus on the concept and you should practice it. If I sit here and write all the programs every day, then there is no point. Okay, you are not going to learn anything. I'm going to teach you the concept. I'll teach you concept in practical. We'll go deep into every concept, but you are the one who need to practice it. So which is the reason I just took 1 or 2 examples. I've been taking only some examples for every concept. I'm not taking a lot. I'm just teaching you the concept. So please practice some questions on list, tuple, all the other data types, and we'll also see some problems in the future, okay, when we come to these concepts again. But you need to practice it and get habituated to this syntax. So now the dict concept is completed. We just discussed some important topics, and now let's go and see how the range concept works. So we know range is used to print a sequence of characters. So how to use it? If I put range equal to 10, then this will be showed, and if I'll print, that 0 to 9 will be printed if I print range of 10. So here range will be printed from 0 to 9. We know that in the second form we discussed that from 0 to 10, if we write this syntax, then it will be printed from 0 to 9. So if you want to print range, let's use the for loop. Actually, if I forgot, actually we need to use for loop for this range. So I need to put this 10 here. So what happens for every I in range 10, here for keyword is nothing but a loop. We use loops when we want to execute the same statement again and again. Here I want to execute the same statement I. how many times should I do I want to execute? 10 times. So here this I will be pointed to this range. First I will be pointed to 0, and then it will be incremented to 1. I mean, first I will point it to 0, and this one will get executed. We'll actually see the for loop and while loop, all the other loops, in the flow control topic, which is going to be the next topic. I mean, after operators we'll discuss this flow control. So here this I will be pointed to the 0. First the 0 will be printed, and again it will be, the control will go back to there, and I will get incremented to 1. Then 1 will be printed, and then it will go back to the control will go back to the loop, and I will be incremented to 2. Then 2 will be printed, then I will be incremented to 3. Now let's see what happens now. So here if you can see, we printed from 0 to 9. So now let's do the same thing with 100. So for I in range of 100, print I is a temporary variable. Here we'll discuss this in when I discuss the type of variables in a future lectures. So here all the values from 0 to 99 got printed, because when I am printing range of 100, it will be printed from 0 to 100 minus 1, which is nothing but 99. Let's see how to work with the second form. So let's write it directly. For I in range of 3 to 10, print I. So it started from 3 and ended at 9, because the step value, the default value of step is 1, which is the reason 3 plus 1 4, 4 plus 1 5, 5 plus 1 6. We got the output in that manner. Now let's change the step value here. 3 to 10, let's put the step value as 2. Now let's see what happens. For I in range 3 10 2, now we are going to print the I. Yes, we don't have anything else, so let's press enter here. Yes, so 3, as I provided step value as 2, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 2 is 7, 7 plus 2 is 9, and if you can see, it won't cross this 9 value, because even though, let's give you another example and explain this. For I in range, let's take 10 to 100 and 5 as the step value. If you see here, the syntax is, it will start from 10 and it will keep on going, like it will go until 99. So let's see what happens now. It will from 10 to 99, and in each iteration the 10 will be incremented to 5. First it will be 10, then 15, 20, 25, like that. So we don't have any other statement, so let's press enter. So if you can see here, it started from 10 and it ended at 95. Why it ended at 95? Because when we add 5 to this 95, it will become 100, and 100 is not applicable. I mean, 100 is not possible, because this statement only prints until 99. So the Python will add 5 to this, and it will see if it's 99. It's not 99, it's 100, and 100 is not possible, which is the reason we only got until 95. And in the next one is, I told you that range function allows indexing and slicing. Let's see if that works. So we already created the range function here. We already created 0 to 10 to 100. Let's see. No, okay, now we will do, what we'll do is, we'll create a variable here. Let's create it as r, and I'm going to, sorry, I should put equal to symbol here. So I'm going to put range and 10 to 100, and I am going to put 5 as the step value. Then I'm going to use this value. So I'll use the print function, and I'll use the index. The indexing, whatever we did in list, we we are doing in the range. And indexing is not applicable for dict because to fetch a value we use keys there, but indexing is applicable for range. Now we got 10. Now let's see what we'll get when I try to execute r of 1. I'll get 15. Now let's see what I'll get if I use -1, because we know that in Python both positive indexing works and also negative indexing works too. So -1, what should we get according to our previous output? We should get 95. Yes, we got 95. Let's see what we'll get at -2. What should we get at -2? We should get, what should we get? We should get 90. So we got 90. So both positive and negative indexing works. Now let's see if slicing works or not. So 0 to, okay, let's take 1 to 4. So now we got the range function 15 to 30 and the increment is 5. Like for example, like not for example, the range function was 10, 15. So at index 1 we have 15, and at index 3 what we have, let's go back here. So this is index 1, this is index 2, and this is index 3. So it started from index 1 and it should end at index 25. So that's what we got. So we got from 15 to 30 because it will start from 15 and it will end like one index before 30, just like 100, how it ended one index before, it ended at 95. If we print from 1 to 9, it will end at 9. It will end one index before this end index, which is the reason from 15 to 25 we can print it now. So we can print the same thing for I in range. If I print 15, 30 with an increment 5, then I'll get print of I. So 15, 20 and 25, that's what we got by slicing this one. So indexing and slicing are applicable for range, and we saw the 3 forms that we discussed. Okay, so now we'll go back to let's start doing this none. It's very simple. Okay, we are just going to see how this one works. So a is equal to 10, I'm going to print the index of a here. Sorry, I'm going to print the address of object 10. This is the address. Now I'm going to put this a is equal to none. Now if I print the address again, what would I get? If I'm going to print the address again, first the address of a is 1407, like so on until 128. The if a is equal to none, the address should change because first a is pointing to 10, now it's pointing to none. So that the address of 10 is definitely different from address of 1. Let's see if it works or not. Yes, the address is different here because now a got changed from 10 to none. Let's also see the type of a here. So the type of a is none type because the a is pointing to none, which means the a is pointing to nothing. And I also told you one point in the none data type that we only have one none inside Python. Okay, whenever we declare 25 nuns, 25 objects are not going to be created. So we already have a is equal to none. Let's take b is equal to none. Let's take c is equal to none. Let's take d is equal to none. Now let's try to print id of b. We got the same one. So 8944, 8944. Now let's try to print id of c here. We got the same address. Let's try to print id of d. We got the same output. Now let's also show you how how the return type in functions works on none data type. So here I'm going to just write pass. Now I'm going to store this function. I'm going to call this function first. Let's take any variable. Let's take n here because we are dealing with none data type. So I'm going to call this function. So if I call this function, it got executed. because we don't have anything inside the function, which means that the function is returning nothing. Now let's try to print type of n here. If you can see, the type of n is none type, because the function is not returning anything. So when I call the function, n is pointing to the none, because the function is not returning anything, which is the reason the n is pointing to the none data type. And if you can see, let's also print the address for this one. So the address is same as this. So all the variables, okay, whatever variables we have inside the Python program, inside our Python program, everything will point to one single object, and the address of this object is this. So I think this is all about the three topics that we discussed. I just executed a small program. You are the one who need to practice. You can, I'll also provide you the notes inside in the description. I'll make a PDF of these notes. For also, I'll also provide the notes for the previous lectures too. So, and read this topic, okay, read this topic on the internet and work on some problems. You need to practice it so that you can get, you can, you can get it in a good way. So we'll again come to this dict, list and tuple in the upcoming lecture after flow control and strings topic. So that's all for this lecture. Have a nice day.